So we've got some artistic and creative types that are bringing a really good question to the table. They're saying, so the Scrum framework stuff, does it work when you've got a very subjective, artsy type of environment in which things are super subjective? How do you bring the principles of Scrum to light with this type of environment?
Oh man, I'm all over this one.
Oh, please.
Heck yeah. So I come out of software development. I mean, at least, a 10-year profession of doing that job. And one thing I've learned about software is it is a creative, artistic thing. It is not
Uh-huh.
as much engineering as people think. I went to school for engineering. You do differential equations. You solve math problems. Programmers do not do that. At least not in information systems where I have a background in web development. But what you find is there's a million ways to solve a problem, and code can get beautiful. Like you can write poetry that executes on a computer, basically as zeros and ones. And so, with that said, like you write code and you go to say your senior engineer or whatever, and they review your code and they're like, "Oh, I don't like it done this way. I want it done another way." Why? Because maybe it's more readable, maybe it's more succinct. There's a lot of subjectivity to even writing code. So backing out a little bit, if I go, 2 weeks before I get that feedback, that's a lot of work I might have to undo. That's very frustrating. Let's say I'm an artist and I spend 2 weeks developing my masterpiece painting just to go to my customer and say, "What do you think?" And they're like, "Dude, that's ugly." That's frustrating to hear. You just called my baby ugly. So what I would
Uh-huh.
probably want to do is go see that customer if they have critical feedback, maybe every other day, maybe once a week, but a lot sooner than a point where it's frustrating that I have to go redo 2 weeks worth of work. And that's where Scrum fits in. You set up a group of stakeholders. Maybe it's your customer, maybe it's representatives of the customer. You go show them the things that they're going to have maybe even wildly differing opinions on, and you learn from it quicker so you can not make so many mistakes or not do so many things that are completely off track. So Scrum, creative work, they work very naturally together in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Let me build on this a little bit because I think the reasoning behind this question may lie in some false assumptions or some misunderstandings, and you spoke to them a little bit, Rob. I worked with a leader once in my career who he didn't come out and say this, but you could tell that his assumption, his premise that he was basing other things he was saying on was that software engineers are like little machines that consume requirements and output code. And it was
Code
foreign to
crankers.
him. Yeah, exactly. And it was like foreign to him. Like he literally said, like, well, how can you write any code before you know what the requirements are? And I just kind of gave him the sideways puppy dog look, like, I don't know how to explain to you how far off your premises are. But I mean, I think when some people associate Scrum with software, they think that we figure out everything up front and then we just do the beat boops until we fulfill the requirements. And that's not how it works. Like you said, software is an inherently creative endeavor. Sometimes more than others. Sometimes it's a very rigid and not that really creative field that you're in, and sometimes it's extremely creative and you're involving graphics and videos and all types of things. So I've worked with a lot of creative types, artists, graphic designers, videographers, and commissioned works from them in some of the jobs that I've had, and never have I given them a predetermined, very specific set of requirements and then just said, okay, go execute your plan and I'll see you in 5 weeks when you're done and then we'll have a final cut. Like it's always been this back and forth of iterative development and here's a piece and what do you like and oh, let's incorporate this feedback. So I agree. I think Scrum can lend itself really well. I think you have to have a really strong product owner because if you have, creative things made by committee often don't work out well. So you can get feedback from stakeholders, but at the end of the day, you got to have one creative visionary who's calling the shots. And so I think that you have to have a strong product owner. I think that's always true, but especially true in creative endeavors. So I think it would work really well.
Definitely.
I like the thought process on this one. It's just a really good question. The principles of Scrum are based on empirical evidence. And
Mhm.
if you're going to do anything artistic, I hope you're using empirical evidence. Whether you use Scrum or not, empirical evidence is how sports teams adjust their game plan on a continuous basis throughout a sporting event. It's a simple time box in which there's a competitive edge, And the goal is not to score as many points as possible. The goal is to win. And you might score only 3 points to get it done. I'm a Chicago Bear fan. I understand what this is like. This is true for drama. This is true for musicians. I think about how jazz musicians play on improv. They're on stage, maybe at a club or something. They don't know what that piece is going to look like as they're playing. But as they begin, they're reading the room. They're getting their input. Sometimes it's bad input and they take it, oh, let's adjust. So I think in an artistic environment, we need to be more comfortable with failure than success, because failure is how we get back online. I see a lot of designers, for instance, who are very possessive about their ideas. And it's like, you have to like this. This is a great design. And it's okay if your design is not liked. Use the empirical evidence, adjust, shorten your time boxes, reduce your risk, and get feedback more frequently. That's my thinking on that.
Heck yeah.
Hey there. So if you're here and this is your first time, and you're interested in growing in your agility and understanding things like Scrum and other Agile topics, then be sure to get started by hitting that subscribe button and also that bell. You're going to get notifications, and I don't want you to miss out on a thing.